In this unit of our InDesign CS6 course, we're going to build a custom color swatch that we're going to use for reproducing total training graphics inside of our trifold brochure. We're going to save that inside the template, but before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to return this paragraph and character style panel group back to the side dock. We could do that by going to the workspace button here or to the window pull down menu and selecting the reset TT class default, but I actually want to do that a little bit differently. I'm going to shrink this back into the group, and then I'm going to go to those two double dots just like so. I'm going to hold the mouse button down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this between the swatches and the text wrap buttons in the side dock where it was originally at. So as I move my cursor inside of here, in this case, if I let loose of the mouse button right now, it would place all of that between Align and Pathfinder. If I want to place it between a group, I want to get to a spot where I see a narrow line between the panel groups, just like so. So, as I said, I wanted to place this between swatches and text wraps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this up, holding the mouse button down, till I get to the point right between swatches and text wrap. When I hit the correct spot, I'll see that narrow blue line between those two buttons, and when I release the mouse button, that's where it'll place that panel group. Now, I'm done with the pages for right now. As I said, we're going to create a brand new swatch. So I'm going to click on the Swatches panel button in our side dock. And as I do that, I'll see the default colors that are actually built into here. I've got transparent or none. I've got registration, which would actually print on every separation that we're working with. I have paper, which translates right now as white. No cyan, magenta, yellow, or black, as we're talking about reproduction. I have black, which translates as 100% key color black, or that grayish cobalt black, as well as process color models for cyan, magenta, and yellow, which I would normally use for process color for print applications, as well as translations for red, green, and blue, which I would use for color process translations for interactive or digital documents. Since when we first created this template, we said its purpose was to be a print document, those have all been translated into process colors. That's what these gray boxes mean right here. And they've been translated into 4-color process or cyan, magenta, yellow, and black terms. We're going to create a brand new swatch. Now, as I've got this done, I don't have anything in. I could click on one of these and it would give me the option to do that, but I'm not going to do that button from here because it would start from wherever we had it before. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go select the new color swatch from the flyaway menu for that panel. And as I do that, it's going to allow me to define a brand new color. Now, you may remember as I did this that I actually had that process blue selected, 100% cyan. So that's what it's going to show here as a default. Now, by default, InDesign wants to define colors in process color terms. For print, that's cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, the 4-color process that it shows right here. If we were working in digital or interactive publication design, it would define that in red, green, and blue primary channel terms. But we're actually going to use a different model for defining this color. When I select these, I've got these 3 process color models, CMYK and RGB, at the very top of my color mode options box, as well as a scientific definition lab color, which is basically lightness and then A or B channels that break up to define whatever colors we're looking for across the spectrum. We also have the ability to define what are known as spot color book or spot color channels. And the one I'm going to select is Pantone Plus Solid Coded for my book colors. And what this does, this brings in literally hundreds of colors to choose from. Now, spot color is a little bit different than working with process color. Let me explain as an example. Let's say that I wanted to pick a color green that I wanted to put in my trifold brochure. If I was using a green spot color, the printer would literally be putting green ink into the printing press. It would either print that color, that specified spot color that's certified to print exactly the same way when the ink is correctly mixed, or it would not. Process color of that same green would basically break that down into CMYK terms. So it would be some component of cyan blue and this bright lemon yellow with maybe a little bit of magenta or black built in to make it lighter or darker. But primarily, it would be made up of some combination of these four process colors that we see on the top part of our swatches panel. So process color is very good when you want to print a wide range of colors. You want a colorful piece. If you're only printing a one color or two color job, say black and whatever our mystery green would be, it would probably be more economical for you to simply print that as a spot color for that green. With that said, let's pick the specific blue that Total Training uses for many of its collaterals, and that's what's known as Pantone 288 blue. Now I could go through this list and get myself to exactly the spot where that would be, or if I already know the color number that I'm looking for, I can just type in 288, and what it will do is it'll automatically take that color and it will translate that. So I can create a new Pantone 288C color. Now I could add this swatch right now, but I want to make a couple of changes first. The first one I want to do is I want to switch back from Pantone solid coated back into a process color model. So I'm going to change that back to CMYK, and as I do, this lets me see how that Pantone 288 blue would be translated in CMYK terms. It'd be 100% cyan, which is kind of a robin's egg blue, 87.9 or almost 88% of magenta, 26.99% of a strong lemon yellow, almost 27%, and then 18.77 or not quite 19% grayish or cobalt black. That combination of these colors right here allow me to duplicate what that Pantone 288C would be in process color terms. Now I need to do one more thing. I want to make sure that that breaks across those four color separations, that it doesn't come out as a fifth spot color plate. Sometimes you may need to do that, but that's a very expensive extra process. And if we're already printing color photographs, we want to translate that back into process color terms. So when I select that and then I add that swatch, what it'll do is it'll create our brand new Pantone 288C. And you'll see that little yellow box translates those percentages up. So that's got the 88%, the 27, and 19 I talked about, as opposed to the precise figures right here. This is what will be used when it prints it. That's just an approximation for what we can see as we're working with it. Now I've created the swatch I needed, so I'm going to say that's done. And as I've done so, we now have created that process color approximation of the Pantone 288 blue that we use for Total Training documentation. Now we've done a fair amount of work, so let's go to our File pull-down menu and select the Save command. Keyboard shortcut for that is Command S if you're working on a Mac like we are for this chapter of our InDesign CS6 course. If you're working on a PC, it would be Control S. As I select that, it's going to save that file, that your first name number 5.indt or template file for our trifold brochure.